All right, I'm gonna get started. If we're all ready to get started, I'm just gonna be in this like chair moment for just a second. Welcome, everyone. I think what I need to do is request a nomination for the chair position. Diane, as far as I know, you've received the nomination. So
Is that true?
I think we'll need to confirm that here and then, if possible, second it so that I can call a vote. So, who is in favor of Diane? Or like, I just need a vote, yeah, for all of us to be, right? And then, yeah, I guess for all, it's unanimous. I think that was the vote. So,
All right.
yeah, thanks, Diane.
I accept.
Your
Congratulations. Thank you. Thank you all
So
for
you
everything.
We've done it all.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was fast. We understand that we have a quick return and we need to be out of here. And
Actually,
55
no,
minutes.
they're not gonna be meeting. Date,
Okay.
they left it on the calendar though, so.
Well, we can have 60 minutes then.
Yeah.
We're good. Yep, we're good.
55 minutes it is. Okay, I'll call the meeting to order then after you've called the meeting to order. And thank you all again. Appreciate it and appreciate everything administration was doing to help. Let's see, next commission hearing is Wednesday, November 17th at 4:30 in this building, in this room. I'd like to swear in staff and applicants. Lori and Caitlin. Do you swear to tell the truth?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Introduce our commissioners really quickly. Lisa McLean, Eliza Poe, Ray Gray, welcome back.
Thank you.
And Ron Vanderhagen. May we, is it solid then that Ryan is vice chair? Okay, good. With that, okay, let's approve the minutes from the last meeting, September 15th, 2021. Marine, if you would you please take any questions? I was not here.
Yeah, happy to use it.
Yeah. Did you all get the minutes? Have a moment to review them?
Any questions about the meeting?
All those in favor of accepting, or let me say this, a motion for approval.
I so move.
And I'm happy to second.
All those in favor?
I,
All right. Thank you. So we're really just talking about the only application on today's docket. So Lori?
Yes, I'd like to, Caitlin, if you'd like.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Tell us about the project.
Yeah, just want to mention that Caleb was last here, July 21st, to introduce the Stonewall project to the commission during the preliminary project discussion. And since then, they've actually done their arts call and selected Lisa. Turn it over to you. We also, Caitlin, have an image. I think you can pull up the image of the Stonewall building.
oh, yes.
Since Lisa has a conflict of interest, may she still sit at the table?
As long as she doesn't participate.
Okay, thank you.
Would you like me to jump in?
He's trying to,
He's just calling up the image of the building,
Gotcha.
which I think would help.
Absolutely.
there you go, great.
So if you remember correctly, we are partnering with Stonewall on behalf of their 30th anniversary to commemorate the LGBTQIA+ community right outside of their building. This is unlike any other project the city has done, given it is a installation on a pedestrian sidewalk. And I'll just reiterate some of the changes that I think were talked about in the conceptual approval, but I'll highlight what we solidified. So we are going with the thermoplastic installation. That is the most durable and the most, the process with the most longevity. We are working closely with the city on everything that entails with their MOU. So we have an MOU with the city, and they are kind of launching this as a pilot program, so that a million applications don't come in to do this all over the place until we kind of see how this rolls out. We are also fully prepared to remove if wear and tear does too much on it. We are prepared to remove it within, I think it was 2 weeks, if it's just proven that that's a pedestrian spot that this isn't working. But we are hoping that's not the case, as the same thermoplastic is used for everything from scooter corrals to pedestrian crosswalks to other similar applications in different areas. So the last time we came in, we were also talking about kind of that skinny brick piece there on the south side of the building. Unfortunately, the Italian Village Commission did not say we could paint on that. It is historic brick, which we honored. We did look at that wall right next to it as well to see if there was anything that could be done there. But because of the material, it would be really difficult to paint on without it chipping off. And we really weren't prepared to do another vinyl up there. It's just a very unique siding. So we really just wanted to start with the sidewalk and go from there. So we selected local artist Lisa McClymont to design our final design, which you're welcome to pull up if that's easy. This is the final design. Oh, no, is that Lisa? Yeah.
You
So-
can sit at the chair if you want to participate as the artist.
You're welcome to if you want, Lisa. That would, because it would be really helpful. You can explain while you're designing. But I will add to that. So we are still working closely with the thermoplastic team to make small changes based on budget and placement and size, but this design will be honored up to 70%. I think that's what I know that's what the Italian Village Commission, as long as that design stays close with 70%, then we should be good. But it's really just kind of slight shifts of circles and elimination of some circles and addition of other circles. The final design to you, once we have that in place for just staff eyes. But I'll turn it over to Lisa to explain all the details of the design. This is great.
Being part of the community, I'm aware of the sensitivity around Stonewall politically right now. I went for a concept that spoke to all the different avenues of identity. So the page that's up right now, the flags in the upper left, were what I started with. Down at the bottom under the line is the progress flag, which is the right now agreed general flag that represents all of us as a monolith. I know we're not a monolith, sorry to choose that word. But the flags above that line all represent specific parts of the groups. There is one missing that I ended up adding in the second round, that is a non-binary flag. Now if you would go to the page right before this. This concept was the quieter version of all the stuff that you saw on the other page with the flags, like wedges and everything. I went way out there and then I decided it's too clown car-y. So pulled it back in and I thought using the concept of pond ripples and how they work together to create change and unity, that's where the flags come into play as that, but they also look like targets. So it'll be interesting to see what people, how they talk about it. The concern that you're not looking at the final design, so that pink triangle is definitely out. The 5 small circles on the right, I think, are going to go away, and some of the circles are going to be smaller, so we could get a better handle on the pricing. So the medium in the middle is going to be a little bit smaller, and that's the one that's going to be the non-binary flag. The trans flag is there, more present with the rainbow flag. So the main groups that I know of will all be there. I think that should get some really great engagement from the community. And all of that means the ripples come from Stonewall's building, which means the action, the energy, and the unity are within. That's the implication. That's all I'm saying.
Good question.
Yes.
For some reason, that first document in the box, just, I couldn't read it very well about the options. And so, and I was not able to read this very well online. I don't know why, but given what you, so I'm assuming that the words concept and that square, that rectangle, that's the building, right?
Yes,
You're
yes.
looking
Yeah,
down.
all the description stuff is within the building area. So I grayed out everything so you could only see the design.
Okay, so the three on the left, is that the area that you said was not allowable?
From a Time Village Commission?
Yeah.
No, so they just wouldn't let us paint on their building.
Okay.
So that's still on the side.
Yeah.
Okay, is all of this on the sidewalk?
Yes.
Okay. So is there a wall aspect to this?
No,
Okay,
when we did the visit, I, and knowing that we couldn't do the brick, I didn't feel comfortable painting on the metal. I just thought it wouldn't age well.
okay,
Really.
But I think we did talk about the possibility of running up. but
Yes,
that-
and I love that possibility, but looking at the material on site, I did not feel secure
Yeah,
about
it doesn't work.
okay.
I still love the idea, but I think
Yeah.
that might be a later, we could talk with Stonewall about what that might be.
Thank you.
And the Italian Village Commission was extremely supportive of the whole plan and idea, except painting on brick. So we said, okay.
Sure.
The other exciting thing is I did this design and it turns out that Stonewall has a program that's based on donations called Pride Circle. So
Oh, for
and
heaven's sake.
that's and what they're already doing with their marketing. So maybe some other flags will appear throughout the building inside. Or, you know, hang or something during Pride. They could do a lot with this, I think.
I appreciate what you said, that these are the flags that you are aware of.
There's so many.
Yeah,
Oh my gosh, there's almost 100, I feel like.
wow,
So many little microchip groups, like,
yeah.
it's crazy. But here in Columbus, I came out here, I've been out here for 30 years at this point. What I chose were what I know to be the most popular. Yeah,
So the binary will be added.
yes, non-binary is quickly becoming a thing. So in addition to trans, non-binary is like a good welcoming thing for that population to see. And knowing that I was Xing out the bear flag, the lesbian flag, I think the pan and the poly are staying. I just wanted to get some of the ones that are a little more obscure to the general population, so there's some education that also happens.
Can I ask, will there be any, back to the signage, you know, we always want a description for people of what the flag, what the symbols represent?
I would like there to be, but I have not talked about that with Stonewall. I'm guessing it would be inside and there would be panel inside, but I'm not sure what would happen outside.
I wonder
That's
if
a
they could,
great question. We
yeah,
haven't
we
even
have
talked
to
about
propose
it.
anything.
if they could do like a sticker on the inside of the window, you know, or just.
That would be
could
great.
pulled up. I would appreciate
I
that.
think that would be really.
Yeah, I think a lot of people would appreciate that.
Yeah.
We can definitely incorporate that into.
Likewise, is there going to be something that indicates the artist?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, with every project we do, we usually do my brain died. Panel, a hard panel on the building, a plaque. Oh my goodness. So I imagine we will do that too, but honestly.
Mark have that? Does Mark read on that?
I think that's-
It's a big one to the left.
Oh, it is big.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, because if he doesn't, tell me what.
It's pushed up, against the sculpture and planter bed.
Don't buy it, buy it.
It's very nice.
Yeah.
Mhm. Landscaping looks great. Anyway.
But yes, plaque, we will get on and information we will get.
And I'm certain that their website will talk about this.
And ours for sure will too.
Yeah.
Other commissioner questions?
So you mentioned about the thermoplastic, as the medium itself. So is this something that in city of Columbus, no one has done it before, or?
It does not exist for any art on pedestrian sidewalks as of now in Columbus. It does exist on scooter corrals, on other pedestrian walkways, but solid colors, not a design. So, this is a pilot, this is a trial, something we've been talking about. I don't know, I've only been with the Short of Alliance for 3.5 years, but something we've been talking about since I started. So I think it will be really interesting to get, a trial down and see what this looks like, because it'll be so impactful, and powerful for Stonewall in the neighborhood. So in short, not for art, but for other trials, that there's two scooter corrals in the Short North specifically that are the same thermoplastic installer and medium. So they see foot traffic, they see, a lot of wear and tear, and they're hanging in there. So, that's kind of our mini pilot.
What kind of maintenance is expected?
So with the thermoplastic specifically, you can lightly power wash, and lightly use, graffiti remover. So we don't really expect people to graffiti on it, but any general like dirt maintenance, we can lightly power wash and it will hang in there. And then as the positive of thermoplastic too, and that Lisa's design is, if one of those mini circles gets messed up, we don't have to take up the entire piece. We can isolate that circle and fix that circle and learn from what happened there. Yep,
I'm glad that you mentioned that you take responsibility for the maintenance.
yes, that's that, and with our city's official MOU, that is all written in there as well. And the city, obviously made us like outline all of that, and there'll be a party to it, but that piece about removal, if it doesn't work, is like big in that MOU.
And Lisa, you understand that?
Which we are Stonewall and us are responsible.
Caitlin, could you send a copy of the MOU to me? So I can put it-
Ironically, they are waiting for the Columbus Art Commission. Actually, I have the final draft. I can send that to you, but the last.
When you have it.
Yeah, they will execute once they get yours. It's like a domino effect, but I can definitely send you the latest draft.
I have emailed with Randy Borntrager and said that the department.
Great. Anybody else? Do you have any other questions of us?
No, I guess my only question is, like I said, we are happy and we will share whatever final design ends up going on. But as far as that 70%, will we need to come back with another application, Lori, if it changes slightly, or can I send it for staff approval?
Commissioners?
Sure.
Okay.
Staff approval?
Yes, staff approval, yeah.
Approval.
Especially if it's gonna remain mostly the same.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, we're happy to do staff approval.
Great. A commission action requested, a motion for final approval of the design and placement of the temporary artwork Stonewall Rainbow on the sidewalk area at the northeast corner of North High and Fourth Avenue for City Code 3115.04.
I make a motion.
Second.
Second.
Liza, thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great. Thank
so
you.
much.
Looks great. Thank you.
Thanks, Lisa.
Welcome back, Lisa. So Lori, we don't have any preliminary project discussion, or has that changed?
No, we don't. But I do have one thing I want to bring up to you. I didn't hear back from everyone about the Starling garage selection panel. I did hear back from Diane indicating an interest in serving on the panel. They'll be meeting from 1 to 4, Tuesday, November 9th. and it will be a virtual meeting, will be on Zoom. If there's anyone who would like to participate,
Oh, I'm sorry, I cannot because I'm working, but I should have told you that. I'm very sorry.
It's too much for me to.
I didn't reply to you, no.
I'm sorry,
You
Lisa.
didn't reply, I said you were good.
You're busy.
Yeah, yeah,
Did you say you're available, Lisa?
I'll do it.
Okay,
Great.
is that good with everyone?
Yes, thank you, Lisa. Thank you so much.
Perfect. Thank you. The other thing I wanted to do, we have on here is an update to the last, for Columbus. And Lisa, I will forward that information. And I did bring along the, presentation, just so you can get an idea of where we're at, what we're talking about. I could summarize it. And Jennifer, if you'd like to come up to the table and some conversation. Could you pull up the? So basically, we hadn't met for 2 months. One, they asked to take off August so they could kind of think about and talk to their constituencies about any additional contextual information that they would want to have considered to be included in statute if it were to go back out into the community. And then we missed the September meeting because about half, a little over half of the members weren't able to attend. So it was agreed to postpone that. So we're a little bit behind, but we did meet on October 14th. And, we always started with the agreement on kind of the stepping up, which you guys have seen before, which is the Christopher Columbus statue won't be dismantled, it won't be given away, and it remains in the city's art collection, in storage or any location. It's not going to return to City Hall or be placed anywhere in the downtown campus area, which this building is part of, in that green space next door. And then there are some issues that really transcend the physical sculpture. They're important, but they really lie beyond what we're able to address in this particular committee. And just needed some acknowledgement of that, and if there needed to be recommendations for some other secondary steps that we would look at that. So kind of narrowed it down to 4 organizational groupings that fit one was suggested. And that was the story of the artwork, how it came to be in Columbus, why it came to Columbus, so the sister city story, the gift from Genoa, and also any other information that we can about the artist and how this was made within that. And then the second one is Christopher Columbus, really taking a look at what was happening in the 1400s, early 1500s at that time, and then putting information about that we know about Columbus, or it's at least known to be true at this point, about background exploration, voyages, kind of the mythology of Columbus that's developed over the years, and influence of the person and that mythology. And has been brought up a number of times, particularly by Marine. History is not a fixed point. We're creating history every day. And it can be re-examined and looked at from different viewpoints, and people can walk away thinking different things. We wanted to also add in some information about Hispaniola, what happened in Hispaniola, and Columbus's role in colonization, starting that in Paris. And there would probably be additional information at greater detail. The organizational grouping number 3, the indigenous community, experiences in history, the impacts of colonization, brutality, appropriation, erasure stories, marginalization, as well as the contributions to society, the indigenous community. really give the community a chance to talk about why this statue is a negative symbol and has been a focal point for protests by the Native American community and Black Americans. We don't really have anyone representing that particular point of view. Certainly the Black Lives Matters protests were a catalyst for, I think, things sort of coalescing around the removal of the statue. That is something that is lacking and needs to be added to this conversation. Thinking one of the ways that we can do that is when a consultant is hired, if we move to that point, stakeholder interviews with folks and getting that as well. And any other thoughts you have on that, all of you would be really welcome. Okay, so then the fourth one is just the general immigrant experience. It was always tough to be an immigrant in the United States. It's not really easy now. But it's just specifically talking about Italian immigration in the 19th and early 20th century. Discrimination, difficulties assimilating, restrictive covenants that we had within communities surrounding Columbus and in some neighborhoods developed in Columbus. Discrimination and how Christopher Columbus became an important symbol for the Italian community. And then also looking at the immigrant story writ large. It's not just a story about Americans, it's a story that also reaches Irish, Asian, Somali, name it. So one of the things that we probably should do is take a look at the demographics that we have in the city. This work is done. And have some information on that so people can get an idea of just how diverse the community really is. The fifth grouping is just kind of talking about the city of Columbus. Our name is Columbus. What does that mean? Now in the 21st century, it has over the years been related back to Christopher Columbus, Dorothy Newhouse Sauer, who has been a member of our committee. I'm going to scan the information that she gave us and put it up in box so everyone can take a look at it. It's really interesting, the images of Columbus and how those were used over time, sort of in a nagging way, in a celebratory way, and with stories about the city of Columbus, just sort of that relationship. And also, why were we considering installing the Christopher Columbus statue? It kind of goes against the grain of what other cities are doing. They've taken the statues down and they're putting them back up. But I think, we're in a more unique position because of the name of the city. That's something that should probably be looked at in the narrative context that's put together. Also, what does Columbus mean now in the 21st century? And it's not necessarily related to Columbus, the person, or Columbus, the statue. It's more Columbus, the community. And one of the commissioners, do you remember who it was? Diane Shelley, I think.
I think I know where you're going, and that would be Shelley.
Who represents some of the Native American interests on the committee, talked about really maybe more into unity, talking about unity. How do we kind of transcend the different groups or silos that people can be in for a lot of different reasons, and really emphasize unity within the various communities that have been affected by the statue, whether positively or take another look at that. So I don't know if there's anything.
Sorry, I apologize for you could go.
Thank you, though.
Thank you, Liza.
Violet. Diane, is there anything you want to add to the?
No, I think our meetings are a little more smooth now. I think we are, well, I think that every time we digest this material, we come back more positive and more ready to discuss. It's still a very difficult and risky thing to be able to vote yes or no. So I believe we're hopeful that we can end our deliberations by February. I believe we were talking about that, giving some time to it. Isn't that right, Lori?
Yeah, so I put together next steps, just to kind of help, the members of the committee, understand what the city of Columbus's commitments would be, might be if they voted to return the statue to a public location. I mean, it's still possible that they don't, in which case a report would be, written and approved by the committee members and presented to this commission, for you to make decisions about and provide whatever additional recommendations that you would want the administration to consider, and then it would go to our director to go to the administration, city administration. So that's one possibility. The other possibility is the vote is positive. And I guess stepping back for a minute, we'd be asking the to vote on to conditionally recommend the return of the Christopher Columbus statue to a public location with accompanying contextual information. And what I'm doing right now is adding to that the various points that we have in here that the city would be taking, so that that becomes part of the vote, so that it's memorialized, I think, at a higher comfort level for the committee members. But if the vote passes, a report still needs to be drafted by staff, given a chance for input by the committee, and then we'd like to try and get that to you guys in February, so that you can look it over, make some decisions about it, and how to move forward with getting that report to the administration. If your approval is secured for the path that the committee is recommending to take, whichever one that may be, but if it's to return it to the public, then we'll be looking in late winter, spring, sometime, assuming there's a vote in February. It could be a little earlier than winter, but that we would put together an RFP, request for proposals, to retain a consultant team to draft the narrative context and to develop 2 to 3, but I think 3 for different scenarios makes some sense. Design proposals for installation, so you can get an idea of what it might look like if it were to be returned in the community, to the community. So that would be the next step. And the other thing that we've talked about in the committee times moving forward is, again, there are big ideas that really go beyond what you can put in information that would be with the statue. But they're still important ideas and they need a place to go. So we talked about looking also for a consultant team that could put together some curriculum that we could house on the city's website. It's associated with the Art Commission's website about information and where you go for additional information, things that are available for families and teachers to take a look at if they want to look at this a little bit more. So that was one of the other things. So I think that we will be looking at a consultant team because at least from my experience, whoever writes up this information, it's a pretty specialized skill, and they'll have to be doing some research with that as well. Lisa?
I was wondering if, with the educational materials and where it's also on the website, if there's any way to partner with the Ohio History Connection.
I hadn't thought about that. You said Ohio History Connection?
And probably,
I think
or the
they'd be very
Columbus
interested.
Historical Society too.
Oh, for sure.
Well, yeah, that's a great way to unify some of those.
Yeah, if you think of more, send them my way.
Mhm.
Um,
They already carry so much info about the indigenous population here, I think. The striking them to.
No, it's a great idea. So one of the things that has been included in this is that we would include 3 committee members on the interview panel that interviews and recommends a consultant team for this project so that they have some ability to kind of manage that, to participate and I think get a comfort level with whoever it is that's selected to forward with this. And I'm talking, jump in, please feel free. So after we have a consultant selected, we would need to prepare legislation. It has to go to council. They have to approve the funding and the director entering into a contract. So there's always steps associated, just like when we do artist contracts. And we'd also really start digging in and working with the finance department and recreation and parks, possibly someone else, another department within the city to try and locate reasonable, doable options for placement of the sculpture and this additional information. So that really has to kick off in earnest. We've had at least one meeting with finance, so they're aware of it, but we haven't really dug into it yet. Whenever we have the consultant in contract, it could be the summer of 2022. If it is, I think it'll be summer of 2022. We would be reconvening the Christopher Columbus Statue Committee so that they could meet with the consultant, the whole committee, like 15 people on this committee, and they'd have an opportunity to discuss their thoughts with the consultants. And then we'd be expecting the consultant to be holding stakeholder interviews with community groups of them, as well as other people. So again, as you're thinking about this, think about other people that to include in that stakeholder interview list for the consultant community. Then we would reconvene fall. I think that in early fall, we'd be looking for a draft that would come to staff for us to look over, and that's an opportunity for us to discuss where things are at with the committee as well as the art commission. Make sure everyone is on board with how things are going, and then we would have the committee, the consultant, put together a final draft. Somewhere in there, we need to, I think, have a public meeting. I'd like your thoughts on this, but I was thinking that once we have sort of the final draft with the art commission and the committee input, that's a good time to have a larger community meeting because it gives people something to respond to as opposed to just having open, which I don't think is necessarily helpful. But you guys, what do you guys think about that?
Would that be a time when the location would also be determined?
Possibly. I think location is going to be, it's either going to be really easy or really hard.
Yeah.
So we might, and if we do, we would include that for sure. But I'm not sure that we would have that at that time. So I think once we have that larger meeting, we've got the draft responses, then we would have the consultant, and we put together a more detailed chart for this internally, but that's when we would have the consultant come back and do the final presentation to the committee, to the art commission, and we would look to start moving toward next steps. Hopefully it would be getting funding for installation. One of the things that I've thought about is having a bonus for having kind of bonus points. Because when you're interviewing someone in the city, you have to kind of publish the criteria that you'll be evaluating their proposals against. And I think we can as this is under the art commission, and I'll be looking into it more closely, recommend an artist be part of the consultant team. And if it's something that's going to be going with the sculpture, and that information is going to be written up, and having the team together with someone who's actually putting that information together. And an art, it could be an artist, it could also be a landscape architect, it could be a lot of different people, but I think trying to promote the opportunity for an artist, and it would have to be someone really skilled to think about that, someone very collaborative to work on this sort of thing. But that would be good. And they would also be in a position to enter into a contract with the city for installation. Wouldn't have to necessarily go back out and look for someone to create this. It's possible to do it either way, but I just kind of intuitively and just from our experiences, I think that this is something where an artist is involved or a landscape architecture firm probably would be involved with the proposed part of it. So just to summarize it, first participating in the consultant interview, that we convene to meet with the consultant. This is the committee, by the way. Consultants will conduct stakeholder interviews. The consultants will present the draft to the committee before it goes to the art commission. Get that information. Review proposed installation locations when we have that information. And then we would ask them when they get the final draft to both full support of returning the Christopher Columbus statue to a public location. Because we start off with conditional support. So somewhere in there we need to ask them.
Does this sound reasonable to you?
May I ask, was it,
I would love to hear any questions or input.
oh, may I ask?
Please.
Was it a majority that has decided that, or that it's the will of the committee to reinstall it?
We haven't gotten to that vote yet.
Okay,
And I understand their need. It's very hard to say whether they, in sort of representing a community, would approve reinstallation if they can't comprehend or imagine what it looks like. So it's a chicken and the egg thing
Yeah.
in a lot of ways. That's why having someone to help them visualize what it would be is really important.
very. Yeah.
Is that like photoshopping? That's the area.
Well, there's a lot of information that's being put toward this that I think the committee agrees it is the information we need, whether it's a little more or less, but those are the categories. You know, how many museums do you go to when you see that much information for one piece?
Right.
And it is an important piece. It's important to the city. And if the group is in agreement that it goes back, that's, you know, that's got to be a real thoughtful presentation and lifting up everyone's voices and perspective as it's being reinstalled. And if it does not go back, you know, and so if you're going to do that, what is it going to look like? And so it's the questions from the committees tend to be, is it going to be inside or outside? You know, is it going to be close to the river? Is it going to be, you know, where? It's very difficult to come to some sort of determination when you can't visualize it.
So, and also Lisa, that's the point of having, as part of the consultant's work, coming up with probably three, I said 2 to 3, but probably 3 proposals of what that will look like, what the design of that will look like. Maybe something that would be inside a building, maybe something that would be outside.
Well, is it going to be distilled?
Yeah.
The elevation,
yeah.
the contextualization.
Yeah, and you know, I think everyone has to understand that until we know where it's going to go, there might be some variation to that. But at least it gives a good idea of, and we get a good idea back from the committee as to whether they sounds to them, makes sense to them, be supported by them, or absolutely cannot.
I'm not wanting to throw us off, but I'm wondering if, when do we concurrently start doing new work? Is this
Oh, the new
project? Yeah, is this a trajectory that has to have one thing finished before the next begins? Are you don't think so? Okay.
Otherwise, I think it's the timelines too.
Yeah,
long.
yeah.
Okay.
So I've started outlining an RFP for the new public artwork.
Okay.
We've been told by finance that they really don't have the capacity to do an RFP until next year. So the idea would be sometime next year, I think, Jennifer, is that fair to say, next year, that we would release an RFP for the new public artwork for somewhere in the downtown campus.
I can
There's
see that.
information from
yeah.
here, and I think information from this committee would be shared with whoever the artist is that
I would think so.
the work project, just so they can kind of understand. Or at least what we have to date. You know, there's just a lot of thought that's gone into stuff, including the monthly article. I don't think from a necessarily a design perspective, but just the thoughts of the artists as they different people were thinking about something that might be new at City Hall. At least I know you participated in that. And, you know, it's just more fodder for artists to think about while they're coming up with what they want to do, what they want to propose, what they see.
There's some project management work that we're undertaking within the department to look at this entire process and all the processes associated with the Columbus symbolism. So we're working to look at what are all of our resources and what's needed for all of these sprints of work. So that we can line those up in timelines that support one another, we can make sure we're resourcing them. And by all means, giving the public dialogue all the time it needs for comfort and consensus. But how do we also move the city apparatus as expediently as we can to make progress on behalf of the city?
That's it. What about the seal and flag?
Yeah, so that would include that work, which Jennifer's going to be heading. And you and Matthew are listening to steps on that. And also the collections piece, which is more straightforward, I think.
Yes, I think so.
Yeah.
But it's just making sure that we have the funding so we can afford whether it's this year or next year, kind of varies. So we just need to nail that down.
It sounds like a great plan. It's good to be able to move at least something.
Right, at least some, right.
But, and also, yeah, that they are synchronized in some ways or have some overlap or talk to each other. Yeah.
So if you have any more questions or any thoughts about what we just talked about, certainly send them my way. Marine, Eliza, Diane, Fairmont, Christopher Columbus, Statue Committee, you know, talk to them about it as well. It's a big project, and I think more input from the committee, the commission, the better.
Do we need somebody to replace Chip on the new piece?
Yeah, the administration's aware, and they haven't made a decision yet. You know, it took a little while to get two of you.
Oh, I'm sorry, I mean, he was going to sit in on that committee,
Right.
on the new piece.
Right.
So will it be whomever replaces?
No, not necessarily. I think, you know, we always have commissioners participate on panels for artist selection. And we would be doing that and ask who's available has the time available and the interest to do it at that time, and I think we could have 1 or 2 commissioners participating. I mean, it's a big piece. We're talking about a large budget piece, and certainly something very weighty in terms of its meaning to the city of Columbus. So
I'm volunteering, if,
okay.
if whomever we bring on wouldn't be more appropriate, I don't know. I was involved in Mark's piece, but I would very much like to be a part of that, if I may.
Let's keep that
Yeah, just,
as we
Yeah.
noted. Right. So we haven't heard from Matthew lately either. So
right, I don't wanna, yeah.
Yeah, Matthew set up his academic schedule when we were meeting virtually at 3:30. And then we started meeting in person at 4:30, and that kind of, oh dear, didn't work with, they set the schedule
Oh, shoot.
way in advance, so he's,
Wait through the semester, I think. For him.
yeah. But he thinks he'll be able to come to some of the meetings, he's able to kind of,
We schedule some.
let us start working on their studio pieces.
We schedule some of these committee meetings outside Wednesday afternoon. They keep me.
okay, great. It sounds like many of us will then have a committee assignment. That'd be great. Okay, anything else? I think we're almost on time. Anything you want to bring up, Jennifer?
Happy to have you back.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And thank you both for your commitment to the Christopher Columbus
With Eliza.
discussion and Eliza.
Yeah.
My goodness, I can't imagine how rewarding yet difficult these conversations must be.
We're getting there.
Yeah, good. Thank you.
I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Okay, who said what?
Lisa motion and Brian seconded.
Okay.
Okay, all those in favor?
Bye.
All right, thanks everyone.